One.
Okay, welcome to the Peabody Institute Library of Danvers trustees meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. And the flag is right that way.
The flag is behind you. So pretend the flag is there, so you just can't see it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, I see we've got some guests. Can you just say your names, please?
Alan is my name.
Yes.
I'm Anna McDonough.
Okay, and
David Elsie.
okay, thank you for coming. Do you guys want to say anything? No? Okay.
Happy to be here.
Welcome, I'm glad you're here too.
Thanks.
Okay. So, you all got the minutes of the last meeting. Anyone have any comments to make about them? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Motion by Cory?
Second.
Natalie seconded.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Okay, trustees report.
Try to talk in the mic. You're gonna speak, talk in the mic.
Trustees, is this better?
Yep, that's
Okay.
better.
Trustees report. I don't really have a lot to say, and some of what I was gonna say is under new business, so I think I'll wait for that part of it. Yeah, so I'm just gonna pass it to the treasurer. Natalie. Where else, everybody?
Over
It's a
here.
different configuration.
Over here. Okay, so we're doing 2 months because I didn't get the report in time. So Julie, I'll give this all to you. So this is gonna be July 31st to August 30th. Beginning balance, $624,129.12. We had an income of $942.25. Change in value of $11,627.26. So our ending balance was $636,698.63. So we were up 10.52% year to date for that month. So if we wanna vote to approve that one first.
We can,
Yep.
all right.
Yeah, they have to be done separately.
Motion,
I'll make that motion.
okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, so that's Julie and Jess seconded it. All in favor? Any opposed? So moved.
Okay, all right, so, this is for August 30th to September 30th, so that will bring us current. So that same beginning balance as the ending balance, so $636,698.63. We had an income of $1,742.78. We did withdraw $5,000 that went into the checking account per, our accountant's request. Change in value of $7,978.66. So ending balance is $641,420.07. So that makes us up 12% year to date, and for the quarter, it's almost 5%.
Okay, great. Any comments? Can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
So move.
Second.
Okay, Mike and Cory. All right, no comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Okay, great.
And we'll go on to the director's report.
Sure. So as you already know, so I'll ask first if there's anything that in my written report that anybody has to comment on or ask a question about.
I did
Yes,
have one thing.
yes, go ahead.
The program that you're doing at with the children, where is it?
What's it regarding, I guess? No.
Yeah, with the emergency assistance family.
Yes.
Did you get a big turnout of that?
Not yet. With the emergency assistance families, like, it's been a year, right? Or over a year since they have been with us, and so a lot of things have changed. So a lot more of the population is able to have working papers, are working now. Kids are in school or daycare, so there isn't as much vital need as they had before. So there were some people available there for the story time. Philippe Hippolyte, the HR director, speaks Haitian Creole, as well as he speaks like 6 languages, or 8 languages, I forget, but anyway, he speaks a lot of languages. So he had accompanied Amy there as well, so he was able to talk to some of the people as well in Haitian Creole, and get some, more sense of things. So she's gonna try to make that a regular thing. The other thing, so Teresa Osorio, who does our English as a second language conversation circles that we're having, she is also once a week going to the motels to do ESL with them as well. And so Amy, our children's librarian, is looking at tagging along with her once in a while to try to maybe bring some materials and also interact with whoever is going to the conversation circles there as well. So we're kind of sussing out like where we can give better help to them as well. And a few people did avail themselves of getting library cards, and and some of them now have their own transportation. That was like the big problem, was that there was no easy way to get them to the library or for them to get any place. But I guess now that there are more of them that do have cars and other transportation, so it's becoming an easier process. So, so that's like a better situation as that goes along. So that's getting better for sure. And we'll see what else we can do for them
Okay,
as we
great.
go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. We have like a lot of discards, that we have, from the library that are still in decent conditions, like children's books at Elpo. I'm gonna push to see if we can bring some over to the motels so they can have their own little just libraries that they don't need to check out. They can just take them or keep them or do whatever too. So it's like, why not, let them have materials there that they can just have. So that's my next push for that.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions or anything anybody has from the report? I was gonna say, since I wrote the report, and I have to say, usually other things come up, but not that much has come up. In between, I did meet with the town manager today. We had like a nice chat, so he's kind of like, what can I help do for you before I leave? Was kind of the theme of it. So I did talk to him about some of our building issues, like the lights still haven't been changed over, that kind of thing. And so he said he's going to try to facilitate getting the lights replaced, or the schedule at least set sooner for that. So that's good. Yay, thanks. Thanks, Steve. He's like, I can do that. I'm like, okay, good. What else has happened since then? And I did put in my report, so we do have 2 new hires that will be coming on the end of the month. We're really excited about them, and it said like we had 35 people apply for the position, and then they told me another batch was still coming in of applications, which I was shocked about. But we found 2 really good people, so I'm excited about them starting, and that will help a lot. Like, we have been a bit short-staffed because we've had a few people out for various reasons, so that will help a lot to have 2 new people on staff starting the end of the month. So that will be great. Like what else is going on? Not much else has come up. Some other things that are in the agenda coming up under new and old business I will touch on as we get there. So unless anybody else has any other questions or anything they want to ask about it. And you can see the lovely picture of Julie at the Onion Town Festival in it as well. So not then I rest. So I rest.
Thank you. Any comments?
Nope.
Questions? Okay. let's move on to old business. And Mike had raised the issue about who owns the land and when was it deeded or if it was deeded. And Noel did some research and got the answers for him. So that's in your packet.
Yep, so the basics, so in your packet, there's 3 pages that you can look at your leisure, but I'll just summarize them for you now. So back in 1970, so the library was owned privately by the foundation, basically the trust, and the trustees ran everything up until 1976. At that point, they knew they wanted to renovate and expand the library, and they were ineligible for any state or federal construction grants because they were privately owned. You had to be in a municipal building. So they voted, after much discussion, to deed the library and land over to the town. So there's 2 pieces that are just like, that have like little bits from the trust, that are minutes from the trustees meeting. I did contact Richard Trask to ask him, like, where can I find this information? And he's like, you actually have a file somewhere in your office that has this already. And sure enough, I did. And then there was the article that's from the paper that kind of is also in there, that was kind of talking about the snafu around the fact that they could not move forward with what they wanted to do with the library until they deeded the library over. So that's the answer to that question, is it is owned by the town. The library is owned by the town and has been since 1976. I didn't realize it was so late, so that was news to me. So it was actually a good, I was glad Mike asked the question, because it gave me some time to look into a little more history than I knew about the library. So that's that. Is there anything else that you wanted to know about that, Mike?
No, thank you very much for the research, and explains it very well. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. My pleasure to do it. Yes, Julie?
So I just wanna make sure that land is town-owned, but the building is,
Both.
both are owned,
Both,
okay.
yeah.
So it's all in here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, deeded on over. And the second part of the old business there, I'll just keep going. So at the last meeting, it was brought up about the state ethics tests and where people were at those. So yes, indeed, everybody should be taking the state ethics test annually. So we do an every other year process. So one year you take the test, the next year you just do an acknowledgement of the ethics test, and then you do the test again next year. So this year in the town, so what we're going to get everybody on, and so I talked to the Human Resources Department about this, and they are gonna double check where everybody is, like if they already have people, their certificates or whatever or not. They were kind of behind, they hopefully were gonna give me the information by today, but they didn't have it in time, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. So if you have not taken the test recently, or you haven't taken it in the last year, then I'd say go ahead and take, the next year is definitely a test year, but you can't do the acknowledgement unless you've done the test, right? So if you did the test last year, then you can just do the acknowledgement this year. But if you are not sure, and you can wait until you hear from me, because I'll have the list probably next week, to make sure that Julie just gave me hers, so we'll know. But next year will be, regardless of whatever you did this year, next year will be a test year where you do the full test. And when they send that out to everyone, all the employees in town, I will also send that out to all of you so that you know that it's time to do the ethics test. But when I talked to Human Resources, they said the best course of action after they gave me the list to see where people are, would be to just make sure that if you haven't taken the test in the last 2 years, make sure you take it before the end of the year. And then we'll be on schedule with the rest of the town starting in 2025. So that's where we're at with that. Yes, Julie?
Okay, just so we all understand, if you go to the Secretary of State's website, it will tell you when you're due to take it.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
See?
well, I
Look
didn't
at
know
that.
it until I took the test.
Ah. Well, so there you go. So you can, if you want to, if you're unsure, you can go on the site then and you'll see. Or if you want to, you can wait to hear from me. And HR will be letting me know shortly who they have as outstanding on their list. So, good. Thank you, Julie.
Well,
Good
thank Donna.
information. Good information. All right, and that was all I had for that, unless anybody else has any other questions? No? All right.
Okay, so on to new business. Something that I've really wanted to do is have some sort of succession planning for the officers of this board. When people come into a new position, when they're elected into a position, I'd like them to actually have something material, concrete, that they can put in their hands and read about what's being done. I think it's really important that, because all of the positions have a role to fill in order for this board to be running smoothly. And I just wanted to get it so there's a record of what's been done, and that gets passed on to the next person, who will then keep it up. And we've got kind of a running document, a
Right,
living
like
document
a duties
almost.
list
Yes.
and, you know.
Yeah, and so it wouldn't get
responsibilities.
too cumbersome. Maybe after a year, we'll put it and we can file it. We've got room in Noel's office to file the old stuff, especially the treasurer, as you know. This is like the last 2 months. Are you getting bombarded with all this?
I'm getting the monthly
Yeah.
statements, yeah.
I get more than that. Anyways, I just want to make sure that when someone takes takes on a new role, they have something in their hands that they can just continue or improve upon if they've got other ideas. So I'll talk to each of the board members one-on-one. I think it'll be easier than spending the time here about what I'd like to see for that role. Just so there's something, again, you know, if Natalie's not elected next year, who's gonna be treasurer and how do they do the job? I'd just like them to have something in their hand so that they know what to expect and what the board expects of them as far as information to be reported and so on. Any questions? So-
No, I was actually wondering that myself because I know that taxes are coming up, and that's another avenue for the treasurer. So we can get into that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm gonna be going into it, I mean, thankfully, we have a professional that does them.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's pretty simple. It's just we can go over it, and then we can draw
Yeah,
up.
what happens to, like, so, when you were treasurer, like, what did you do with all the statements?
I have them all.
You have them all?
I have them all in a binder.
So it's like everybody
So-
just like has their
Yeah.
piles of
Do-
statements?
do you wanna
Well,
keep
it's
that binder,
monthly,
or?
so it's monthly, but yes,
Mhm.
it was just like the monthly statements that came in. We have a bunch electronically as well that I believe we got attached to because we had to do that for the taxes. And they wanted them all electronic, so we can go through all of that too,
Right.
so.
So that's like a perfect example of like, you hand the binder.
Right.
Over ceremoniously to the next person.
And then how long do we
Right.
keep all those documents for
Right.
is another question, because I think all three of us are getting statements now, so she might, we don't necessarily need all those statements and.
Right.
But. how
Well,
we're gonna do that.
and honestly, I think ideally, and it's hard to do when people are being elected, and you don't know if there's gonna be, a person getting reelected, but I think especially the treasurer's role should be really more consistent, especially because of doing the taxes and
Yeah.
things like that.
So you're saying you wanna do it next year?
So we all know that I
Joking.
am not running again next year, so yes, so it'll be a definite that this position will be open.
Mhm.
So, something to be thinking about now, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
And we kinda
And
got
it should be somebody that's gonna stay in the position for at least a little while. I don't think it should be turning over every year to somebody new. I think establishing a relationship with our tax preparer and things like that is important to keep things running smoothly. So whoever takes this next year, it would be nice if they planned on staying for a little bit.
Are you thinking about, what's in the bylaws, doing a bylaws change potentially for the treasurer position? Like, should it be like a 2-year? Or is that too much because we don't know how turnover works, right? I mean, turnover is happening with at least
I think
three
it's more
trustees
of like
every year.
a sort of a wish and not a have to. I think,
No,
like. it-
right, so my wish for you all going forward.
Like, it would be nice, but I feel
As
like
I
changing
cut
the
that
bylaws
string.
might, you know, I think if it doesn't work out that 1 year, repeating that might not be the best move,
Right, right.
but. Yeah. But yeah, I agree, just because I learned a lot last year doing the treasurer stuff. Lot.
Yeah, she learned a lot. We'll see if I learn anything when I have to go
It's-
through the tax season, so.
But you have a lot of help too.
Yeah.
I was really spoiled because I had Susan, so.
Right, yes.
Made it so easy.
Right.
And our accountant's great too, you can call him anytime. He's wonderful to work with, really easy. Okay, so any other questions about the secession planning that we wanna do? Does
Nope.
anyone wanna add to it, or? Okay. All right, so I'll just one-on-one call you, or maybe, I don't know, Jess, if maybe you wanna, or
Yeah,
I can talk
we-
to Natalie, and if,
We can, yeah, we
We'll-
can talk,
we'll
We'll
fig-
do it.
yeah,
yeah.
okay. And programming policy.
Yes, it's back to me. So as you know, I've been trying to be kind of proactive on making sure we have policies to meet possible, questions or comments or challenges that come along. So one of the things we do not have is a programming policy. So I'm going to be creating one. I just wanted to bring it up as something that we might want to, in case you have questions, discuss it. So programming policy, which is funny because I printed something out and then I apparently did not bring it over, but is much like the meeting room policy. It kind of gives a outline of what kinds of programming that we do, like the range of things, who is responsible for the programming that we have, which usually is like the director's responsible. They give the responsibility to their department heads, et cetera. And then we have sort of a set of criteria of what kind of programming we're looked to do. And then that, just because a program is controversial does not mean that we wouldn't have it. And then you've kind of have some sort of statements around too, like, just that we are not actually responsible in the end for what content is in a program, right? Like, we are not the presenter, and so we are not ultimately responsible for that. So those are kind of like the basics of what's in a programming policy. There was, and as you know, we've had programs that there has been pushback against. There was just recently, this past week and a half, another library that had pushback from both supporter sides and conservative sides against it, which ended up with the library possibly facing a lawsuit, and they have a program policy, but that was still, there's a lot of the divisiveness happening in library world right now as well, because libraries are one of the few places where they are still open to having multiple points of view and very diverse programming. So to kind of help us guide and have something to fall back upon when we do get any questions or anything about it is, I think, just a good safety valve for us to have. So does anybody have any questions about it? So what I'll do is I'll put together a draft one to give everybody next month. But I just wanted you to know that was coming.
Mhm.
And then if you had any comments or discussion or things that you are thinking about for it, just to talk about it now before I put anything together. The policies I was looking at do also consider or have included a reconsideration of a program policy. So the same way for our collection development policy, we have a reconsideration of a material. Like the ones that I just looked at have a reconsideration of a program. So if you had something in the calendar and, say Mike didn't like it, and Mike's just like, well, I have thoughts about this, so there's a form you could fill out to say why you do not want to see this program at your library. I think that can cut both ways, whether we want to do that or not, because you could end up reconsidering every program, that you have. But I also don't think it's necessarily a bad idea as well. So I don't know if anybody has feelings or thoughts about it before I move forward with creating something.
Will you be working with anybody in writing it?
I don't know yet. I really just thought, because this thing just happened in our little library world this last week, it just like came in my mind like we should really have something. So I hadn't even gotten so far as being like, I'm just gonna bring this up and say like this is something we probably need. I don't know if anybody wants to work with me on it from the board.
I was wondering if you might need like town council or like
Well,
if there were legal questions that expertise.
it's
might-
interesting. One of the policies I looked at was from Somerville, and it was the Somerville policy, and they definitely ran things by council, like they have it that they ran stuff by council. The other policy that I looked at was more of a town like our size, and like they didn't they didn't indicate that they'd run it by council. But I mean, I can always run things by council. I mean, that's not a hardship for me to do, to put something together. or
Have you
whatever.
seen many of the policies from different libraries? Like, are they similar?
They are all very similar. Yes, they are all very similar. Usually they have like some of them just might be a little wordier than others about what they are trying. Like they might include, oh, here's our mission statement. Here's our, like all of kind of like their pieces like that, and then they get into the programming policy part. But yes, they pretty much all say the same thing that I've been looking at. Anyway, I've looked at probably half a dozen or so at this point.
Is
But
this the first one you'll be writing yourself?
for program policy? Yeah, I haven't written a program policy before, so yeah, we'll see. I'll probably get somebody else at the library to put eyes on it too. Like usually that's what I'll do is I'll
And I know you have lots of good mentors that you
Yes.
could call in.
so I'll have other people look at it before I bring it to you guys too.
Sounds good.
But the biggest thing too is that we're not responsible for the content of the programs. Take that off of us.
Yeah,
We can't be
it's-
responsible for what a presenter comes in and ultimately says or does
right
in the
yeah.
course of that program.
But isn't that a responsibility that we do have? That if it goes against something that's not in the
Program
the
policy.
program policy,
Okay,
or
right.
that it's forbidden, or that it's totally goes against everything that, and, we allow in using the Gordon room,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
such.
absolutely.
Isn't it up to someone to shut it down and say, oh, this is
Well,
not.
it's like one of those interesting things, right? So we can, in good faith, like I could be like, oh, I'm gonna hire Natalie to come do this program on, dog adoption, and then, and I know, like I'm like, oh, I've vetted you, like I know
Mhm.
your credentials and you're
Mhm.
great, and then you're in the program and you go off the rails about
Right.
something, right?
Right.
Like I'm not gonna be like, so I could not have known that you were gonna go off the rails about
Right.
a completely different subject, right? And like we can, I'm not saying that it wouldn't get shut down or might not get shut down
Mhm.
or anything, but your opinion, in the end is not.
Right.
Like,
No,
it's
I-
not gonna be the trustee's fault or my fault.
Right, no,
that, like,
I
you
get
ended
that
up
part,
with
but
that
I'm just
opinion,
saying,
yeah.
like, obviously you wouldn't let it continue.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't, I
Right.
mean, obviously if there's a,
Okay.
a fight broke out, we're not gonna,
Okay.
let it go down.
Okay.
Like
Just
burn
want-
down.
Okay.
We're not gonna burn down the library.
I just take
Or
things
something.
literally, so when
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, it's not our, well, yeah, it kind of is.
Well, and some things it's, because there's a good faith, like, like
Mhm.
you're hiring somebody or
Right.
having somebody come in usually in good faith, but it's,
Mhm.
it's the best of intentions sometimes
Right.
go awry, yes. And you think that this will be fine, and then, or just, as we know, like from programs we've had in the past, like some people did not like some of the programming that we
Mhm.
had, and they were very vocal
Mhm.
about that.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that we shut down the program, like it's okay that people have different opinions and there's some controversy, that's okay. But, on the other side, you're not purposefully trying to
Mhm.
stir the pot, potentially, so, yeah.
Well, this will be interesting.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, we'll see. But I mean, I think that, like that policy, so I want to put that policy in place, like another policy that we have, that I would like to do too, that often goes hand in hand with the collections policy, but we don't have, is, cause you can consider it part of the collections policy, is a display policy. And so, we do displays on all sorts of topics. And so not here, but sometimes people do comment negatively about displays that we have. And, you know, they're already usually materials that we have in the library, and we have a collections development policy, which is already outlining why we have, so it's not, you know, like, it's already saying it's okay that we have these, and just because they're out on a display cube shouldn't change anything. But that is another area where people challenge things. So I just wanna get all of our ducks in a row and like make sure that, you know, if people do have complaints or whatever, that we have something that backs up what we're doing and why we're doing it. So that's my goal. my goal.
Good goal.
And I'm just seeing a lot, you know, there's always a lot, but right now there's a lot happening, you know, just where there are heightened tensions in the world right now, and so there's a lot that is, you know, being challenged.
Any other comments, questions for Noelle?
Good luck to you.
But it's also, for me, it's like protecting the staff as well, because
Yeah.
if there's policy, then it helps protect the staff, you know, too, and that's also obviously very important.
Big, yeah.
For me too, so, yeah, fun times.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, then does anyone want to move to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Jessica, and second?
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Never.
All right, good night, Tim. Thank you.